What's good, YouTube family? It's Providence back again with you. And one thing that I've noticed since this whole Diddy indictment has happened, Diddy has had his fair share of defenders. Diddy has been defended by Dr. Umar Johnson, Faison Love. I've seen Boozy defend him. A lot of people aren't necessarily convinced of what the feds have indicted Diddy on, that he's really guilty for what he's actually indicted on, and there have been some defenses. Dr. Umar Johnson now is on his second video quasi defending Diddy and seemingly trying to paint this picture that what's happening right now with Diddy is a distraction, and this is a distraction meant to take people, or especially black people, off of their agenda of fighting for justice in their communities. Let's listen to what Dr. Umar Johnson has to say to see if he has any valid thoughts on the situation.
But you don't know why they did it at this time. I'm talking about the timing, not just the agenda, the timing. You know why they gave black people Puff Daddy during election season? You know why they gave black people Puff Daddy during election season?
Tell us, Umar.
The reason they gave you Puff Daddy during election season, the reason they decided to serve up Sean Puffy Combs a few weeks before the election is they want to distract you from the laws that they are passing. They want to distract you from the policies that they are enacting.
You know, one thing that surprises me is people seem to have this idea that you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Dr. Umar, respectfully, we're not dumb. We can process two things at the same time. We can pay attention to the election, pay attention to the laws that are being passed, and at the same time observe what's happening with Diddy and give our thoughts and our opinions and have sober reflections of that man's downfall. We are not distracted by what's happening. You really think that black people aren't gonna go out, vote for Kamala or whoever you're gonna vote for, participate in the political process because Diddy got arrested? I mean, are we that dumb, Dr. Umar? I mean, essentially what you're saying is that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. And I don't understand that. You have to understand something about the feds. They don't charge people unless they've built their case. The feds are very serious. They're not gonna risk embarrassing themselves by charging Diddy for a crime that there's absolutely zero evidence that he committed, because the real reason is they want to distract black people. Like, that doesn't make sense. But let's continue.
They want to distract you from the initiatives that they are implementing. This is a distraction. And because they know black people love to see black people disgraced, humiliated, and destroyed.
That's not true. I think, to be honest with you, there's no group of people that protects their own more than black people. I actually think part of the reason why Diddy and people like R. Kelly got away with what they got away with for so long is because there's lots of people willing to look the other way. People knew what R. Kelly was doing years. In the 90s, we saw him with Aaliyah. People knew what was going on. People looked the other way. Why? Because I think a lot of times black people want to protect their own. As a matter of fact, Dr. Umar, that's what you're doing. By you suggesting that this whole thing is a distraction, you're protecting Diddy. Black people like to protect their own and downplay the crimes that oftentimes black people perpetrate because we don't like to see each other in jail. But unfortunately, Diddy did what he did, and he deserves to go to jail, allegedly, right? Like, do I know he's guilty? No. But when the feds come for you, you probably did something.
They know black people love to see black people disgraced, humiliated, and destroyed. They said, throw them one of their own. Let's lynch another Negro today.
I just think it's insane to say that what's happening to Diddy is the equivalent of a black man being lynched. Dr. Umar knows that if he uses rhetoric like that, it's basically going to virtue signal to a history of racism that's going to play on the emotions of black people listening. So if he says, yo, Diddy's being lynched, you might say, oh yeah, that's what it is. Diddy's being lynched. Diddy's not being lynched. Okay. Diddy is dealing with the consequences of his own actions. Not every time a black man is being incarcerated or facing charges is because he's innocent and the white man is just trying to tear him down. We can't think like that, people. We have to have clear thinking on issues.
To send all the black people over here while we take care of business over here. This is a grand distraction. They always do this when they're planning something really, really big that they don't want black people to pay attention to. They always do this.
Again, Dr. Umar, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I want to know, why do you think that black people are dumb enough to be distracted by Diddy being arrested? I just don't get it.
When they're planning something really, really big that they don't want American Negroes or Africans around the world to pay attention to.
What are they planning, Dr. Umar? What are they planning? What's really big? See, sometimes you have to ask critical questions. What is it that they're planning? What is it? What's the really big thing that they're thinking about doing? One thing I continue to see is people choosing to believe conspiracy theories rather than just observing the data, or at least being silent until they can actually, have all the facts. Why do people love to believe conspiracy theories so much? The feds are planning something big, and so why they are actually going after Diddy is because there's this big thing that they're trying to distract us from. And bro, there's no grand conspiracy. Diddy is being charged for sexual trafficking, prostitution, and whatever else that they're going to prove and offer evidence in court. And yes, all the evidence hasn't come out yet, and maybe after the evidence comes out, we might say they actually have nothing. But the smart thing to do would be to sit back and observe before speaking on something. I can't understand why people would rather believe this is some grand conspiracy instead of just simply acknowledging that Diddy might have actually done something. Now I get it. Dr. Umar doesn't really think Diddy did anything. And I'd just rather him just come out and say, look, I don't even think Diddy really guilty of anything. Just say that. Like, if you really don't think Diddy should be going to jail, just say that, right? But don't try to act like, well, it's a grand conspiracy and black people are being distracted and black people are falling for it. Again, Dr. Umar, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Ain't no black person finna not vote for Kamala Harris or whoever they vote for because Diddy got arrested.
And we fall for the bait every time. There's nothing wrong with a conversation on Sean Puffy Combs, but when you scroll through black Twitter and you scroll through black Instagram, and you scroll through black Facebook, and you scroll through black TikTok, and all you see is gossip and conversation about one man.
Now, Dr. Umar wants to say everybody's just been talking about Diddy, and that may be true for the last week that he's dominated headlines. But when I scroll through black Twitter, I see lots of people on black Twitter talking about the election, talking about political issues, watch the debates, and had conversations about them. And I can almost guarantee you that in a couple weeks, unless there's some major development, Diddy is going to fade from the headlines and people are going to get back to having real discussions about the election, real discussions about the issues. Simply because people spent time thinking about Diddy this last week doesn't mean that people have forgotten about the issues. Again, people can walk and chew gum at the same time.
At a time like this, then you know you are engaged in a grand distraction. Sean Combs is a distraction. And anytime you see something like this, you should ask yourself, what are they trying to distract African people away from? One of the things they want to distract you away from, one of the things...
And by the way, this conversation about Diddy isn't only taking place in Black America. This has made national headlines. A lot of white people have been talking about this. We've actually seen a lot of content creators that are not black talking about this. This isn't just somehow black people talking about this. So I guess the feds wanted to distract white people too, not just black people.
They want to distract you away from. They want to distract you away from the fact that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have no agenda for African people. One of the things they want to distract you away from. See, before they gave you Sean Puffy Combs on a silver platter, before they broke the news on Sean Combs, we were asking Kamala, What are you going to do for us? Before
Now, I hate to break it to Dr. Umar, but there's never been any presidential politician in the history of America, even Barack Obama, that had an agenda specifically for black people. If you ask Barack Obama, he'd probably say, working on behalf of all Americans includes black Americans. Trying to make things better for the working class includes black Americans. I've never seen any politician ever outline, any serious politician, maybe, some politician, local politician running might throw his hat in the ring, but any serious presidential candidate, I've never seen them ever outline any agenda specifically geared towards black people. Politicians may speak to black people and promise certain things, but outlining a clear agenda has never been something that has been done. And so the question I want to know is, do you think the feds need to distract black people from something that never happens in the first place? You think the feds really are saying, man, you know what? We really need to distract black people from the fact that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump don't have an agenda for black people. Let's prosecute Diddy. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think the feds care. And the feds have literally never had to do that because no politicians ever had an agenda for black people. So why would the feds all of a sudden feel like we need to make sure that black people don't recognize that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump don't have an agenda? Did they do that for Joe Biden? Did they have something that they tried to distract us with Joe Biden? What was Joe Biden's clear agenda for black people? What has any presidential politician ever had a clear agenda for black people and did anything specifically for black people? I don't, maybe I'm just uninformed. I don't know. So I don't think the feds care. The cause and effect relation that you're trying to bring up just literally makes no sense to me.
they broke the news on Sean Combs, we were asking Donald Trump, what are you going to do for us? September the 16th. He was arrested September the 16th, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks from election. Sean Combs was arrested September the 16th. Exactly 7 weeks from election. Why did they do it now? To stop the black political movement for justice.
Now here's the thing, man. Being arrested 7 weeks from election, if that's going to be enough to distract black people, then that means that we never really cared about the movement for justice in the first place. 7 weeks is enough time for us to lock back into political issues. If in the next 7 weeks we can't lock back in and figure out who we're going to vote for, like he acting like Diddy got arrested 3 days before the election. 7 weeks is that's almost 2 months. You really think Diddy's going to command the airwaves for the next 2 months? Trust me, he's not. Folks are going to lock back into the election within the next 7 weeks. And here's the thing. If we say we care about justice, we can't just care about some aspects of justice. We have to care about justice in its totality. If Diddy victimized people, victimized Cassie, victimized other individuals, then he deserves to face justice as well. You know, this idea that we only care about justice as it relates to black rights and black progression, but we're going to defend people in our community who may have committed crimes. If we care about justice, then we need to care about the people, even within our own community, who committed crimes. We can't just pick and choose what type of justice that we're actually here for.
That's why they arrested Puffy. It has only been, tomorrow will be 7 days. Tomorrow, Puffy would have been arrested for 1 week tomorrow. Puffy would have been arrested for 1 week tomorrow. Sean Puffy Combs, the diddler, would have been arrested. It ain't been a full week yet. It hasn't been a full week, and you emotionally immature Negropeans. It hasn't been a full week yet, and you emotionally immature Negropeans have taken your attention completely off of election 2024.
Cap. People are paying attention to everything that's happening. Just because something has dominated the headlines and dominated Black Twitter does not mean that people have stopped paying attention to what is happening with the election. People are 100% paying attention to everything that has happened. I just, this insistence on manipulating people into feeling like if you are talking about this, then you're really not concerned about the greater issues is ridiculous. It's insanity.
You have taken your attention completely off of the black agenda from 2024.
I would argue that the black agenda needs to include dealing with individuals in our own community that commit crimes. That should be a part of the black agenda. We need to resist all oppression that comes from outside of our community, and we need to clean up whatever's going on in our own community so that people like R. Kelly and Diddy aren't able to continue to do what they're doing for years and years and years. Because a community that has been purified on the inside and fights against oppression on the outside will be a strong community. So Diddy is not a distraction from the black agenda. Hip hop culture needs to be purified. That should be a part of our agenda.
And you have put it on Puff. You have been outsmarted, you have been outmaneuvered, and you have been out-strategized by the white power structure once again. Hugh Hefner had a living freak-off. Hugh Hefner had a living freak-off at the Playboy Mansion. Puff Daddy had intermittent freak-offs. Hugh Hefner had a living freak-off, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nobody said a word.
Now, I'm not here to defend Hugh Hefner. He's dead. I don't know the situation. I never followed Hugh Hefner, never followed what happened with the Playboy Mansion. Maybe he committed crimes, maybe he didn't. I don't know if Hugh Hefner ever coerced anybody like they're saying Diddy did to be a part of his freak-offs. I don't know if there's any hiring of any prostitutes like they're accusing Diddy of. But at the end of the day, if Hugh Hefner got away with his crimes, that don't mean Diddy should get away with his. We can't pick and choose. You see, this is the issue. If Diddy was white, we would have Dr. Umar would have no problem with Diddy going to jail, right? But because Diddy is black, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, Hugh Hefner did something. He ain't get in trouble. Why they going after a black man? See, we can't pick and choose who deserves to be punished for their crimes based on their race. Again, if Hugh Hefner did something, then he should have got caught. But that don't mean because we caught Diddy and Hugh Hefner got away with something, unless we think he did. Again, I don't know anything about Hugh Hefner, what he was doing. But at the end of the day, one person getting away with something don't mean the other person should.
This is nothing but a distraction from the election. This is nothing but a distraction from Kamala Harris's procrastination.
Okay, well, thank you guys for watching to this point. If you guys agree or disagree, please comment down below, like the video. This has been Providence. I'll see you guys in the next video.